Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is another installment in my Fusion 360 beginner series, and in this series, if you haven't watched them before, I'm going to be taking you through a beginner's guide to the modelling features in Fusion 360. In this episode we're going to be talking about the sweep feature, so let's get started. So to start with our origin point turned on, we're going to start a sketch on the XZ plane. So we'll start that there, and what we're going to be modelling to sort of test out our sweep feature is we're going to be modelling a paperclip, and we're going to do that first by just drawing out a simple sketch, and then we'll move on to the actually using the sweep tool. So if we get started with our line tool, so we'll start over here on this side here, just anywhere in free space. We'll just click and go up, and then click and hold and drag to put an arc on the end of your line. Drag that down here, do the same on this end, and put a straight line on the end of that. And again, put a curve on the end by clicking, holding and dragging with your left mouse button. And come down here and put another vertical line there. So the first thing we'll do after we've done that is to dimension everything up. So we're going to make this about 50mm wide. Don't worry if that makes your sketch overlap, we can just drag that and sort that out. Next we're going to just dimension these vertical lines away from each other. We'll just put them 2mm away from each other, and same on that side. We'll just use that first dimension to drive the second one. So let's drag this over here a bit. We'll constrain the center points of our radiuses to the center line there. And then what we will do is constrain the distance between these 2 points here. So if you hit your dimension tool there, hold down shift, that should bring out on the center point of the radius. So if we click that and then click this one here, we'll make that about 8mm. Will we? We clicked the wrong thing there. Yeah, we did. Again, select your dimension tool, hold shift just to bring up your center point for both radii. Then we'll make that 8mm. There we go, that seems to have worked now. Next we'll dimension the overall height. So again, hold shift to bring up your center point. We'll make that 50mm. Drag these up here because they're overlapping. Next, we'll just put a horizontal constraint on these 2 points so they sit on the same point, and we'll dimension 10mm away from the bottom there. Project through this axis here, and we'll just constrain the bottom of the paperclip to that line there, and that should lock everything down. So finish your sketch there. I'll turn our origin off. So we've got our paperclip profile there. What we need to do next is to create a plane that is perpendicular to the path that we've just created. So if we go over to construct here, and if you hit this little drop down button, and if we go to plane along path, select that and select our path, you'll see if we drag this plane along here, you can pretty much place it along any point on the path. But the way we want to put it is at 0, so we just drag it right down to the bottom. You'll see that it puts it right at the end of the path there, or you can do it this way, so you could just type in, so you put 1 in there, it takes it to the other end of the path, but we're going to keep it at 0, put it at the start of the path there, so click OK. So we'll select that plane, go to create sketch, and what we'll do is we'll just put a center diameter circle on that point there. We'll do that about a 1.5mm diameter, and then click Finish Sketch. And then all we need to do is go over to, not Revolve, go Create, Sweep. And the most common type of sweep that you'll probably use is the single path, which I'll just talk you through now. So basically, you've got a few different options to select here. So you've got Profile, which will be the circle that we've just drawn there, and that's the section that's going to sweep along your path. And your path is the route that you want the profile to take. So you can see once we've selected the path there, it brings the paperclip to life there. You'll see what it looks like. And again, on the distance thing here, you can select, so 0.5 if you want it to go halfway around, or 7.5 if you want to go 3/4 of the way around. But we're just going to keep that at 1 for this one. So that goes all the way around. You can actually taper the size of the profile that you're sweeping. So if we put 0.5 in there, you see that tapers up quite a bit there, but it doesn't really look right. So for something like this, you wouldn't necessarily use that function because you need the paperclip to be uniform all the way around. But for something that's a little bit more organic in form, you might want to use that, so that's quite useful, but we'll keep that at 0. Twist, we won't really see it on this because it's circular, but I'll just do a quick demonstration. So I will turn that plane back on, visibility, I'll do a sketch on there, and I will just create a squarish shape on there, and we'll go back to the sweep tool. This time we'll select that profile, keep the same path, go single path. Now if we put, say, 1 degree in there, well, maybe not do visible, but 10 degrees in there, you'll see how that's twisting as it goes around. A bit bigger. There we go. See how that, you can really see that now, how it twists as we go around. But like I say, for the paperclip, we're not going to be using that, so we'll hide that sketch. So the next, there's orientation. So at the minute it's set to perpendicular, so as the profile sweeps around the path, it keeps the profile relative perpendicular to the actual path that it's sweeping around. But if you keep that at parallel, you'll see it fails on this one. And if you look at the error, you'll see what it says. So it would self-intersect. So basically what that's saying is that as the profile sweeps around, it remains in this axis as it's in right now. So once it gets to this curve point here, it intersects with itself and creates a body that Fusion 360 can't produce. So most of the time you'll probably be keeping that at perpendicular. So we'll do that for this one. And there you go, that's the paperclip created there. A nice and easy thing for you to make with the sweep tool. Now there is another cool tool in the sweep feature that I will show you, which is pretty useful if you want to create some kind of fluid or organic forms. So I'll just hide the paperclip body there, and I'll do a sketch on the XZ plane. And I'm going to draw two things. The first is going to be just a simple arc. Before I finish that, I'll just project through that axis there. I'll constrain that end point there, and I'll also put in a wavy kind of spline looking feature. Oh, try that again. Right, so we'll finish sketch. Next, if we create a sketch on this XY plane, what we'll do is create a 2-point circle and we'll just project through the endpoints of those two bits of geometry we just created previously. So we'll go 2-point circle, and we'll sit the 2 points on those lines that we just created. So we'll go to create, sweep, and if we go to, for type, we go to path and guide rail. So the profile is going to be that circle, the path is going to be the arc, and the guide rail is going to be the spline, if you see. So it's still sweeping the bottom of the profile along that arc, but it's also using the spline as a guide rail to create this sort of wavy profile in that axis, which can be pretty useful if you're like creating some kind of fluid body or something that you can't necessarily create through conventional modelling methods. It's pretty cool and useful. Again, you can change the distance to that, so you could just make it go halfway along, but we'll just keep that at 1. You can also mess around with this profile scaling tab, which can produce some different effects. So in the stretch one, you can see it's keeping the width in this axis the same, but stretching it along that axis. But then if you go to scale, you see it scales it proportionally in this axis here as much as it does in this axis here. So you can play around with those two little options, and also you can change the extent. So the minute it's perpendicular to the path, so it's following that path in a perpendicular fashion. But if you click full extents, it puts a little bit more of a different effect on it. You can also play around with these arrows, setting the guide rail distance if you wanted to, which can create some kind of different effects. But like, it can depend on what you're modelling really, and the best way to kind of learn it is to model what you want to, so sketch what you want to model and just kind of play around with these different parameters and see where you get to and see what you can create. So that's the path and guide rail feature, and again, as always with these modelling features, you can choose to either join bodies together, so join 2 bodies together, or cut away from a body, or create sort of new bodies. So it's all a similar theme throughout all the 3D modelling features that you'll probably pick up and get used to as you go along. So anyway, there's your paperclip that you created earlier. So yeah, that's the end of this video, and if you like the video, don't forget to comment, share, like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers!